This is some 8mm film footage that I took in Vietnam when I was over there in the Mekong Delta, and this is the city entrance to Rach Gia, which is a nice, pretty fishing village on the Gulf of Siam. I went out there for a couple of months in the spring of '66 to assist Norm Savara, our regularly stationed pilot out there. It was hot, a lot of VC out there in that area, but it was a beautiful town. It was on the Gulf of Siam, a little fishing village. I don't know how many people were in it, but it was a decent-sized town. And that's where these movies came from. I'll show you some also of Phu Quoc Island in a minute. But this is the market downtown. We didn't go out of the BOQ too much to clown around, but every now and then we'd go out. And it was pretty secure. Nobody ever got in any trouble I know of. We had a mess hall, which was a house in town that was staffed by French chefs, which meant Vietnamese that had cooked with the French previously. But this is where they bought all of our food, and it was pretty good stuff. We had good food. More of the market. We'll see some of the fishing junks here in a minute. Well, Mama's son there washing her face off in that water. I'm not sure how sanitary it is, but I guess you get used to it and it doesn't bother you. These are some of their little sampans. They live on. Or they did then. But it's really a pretty town. You can see the palm trees. And the river coming in from the ocean. Royal palms, I believe those are called. I guess the tide had gone out. He's listing a little to the side. And this was a Vietnamese patrol boat staffed by, also joined by one of our Navy advisors that he'd go out on that thing for, a week at a time or 2 weeks at a time. Bless his heart. I don't believe I want to do that. But those are the Navy guys that were attached at Rach Gia. guard for our BOQ. We lived in a former French mansion. There were 12 of us that lived there, 12 officers. We had a full-time, oops, that's the mess hall, I'm sorry, excuse me. That's the mess hall. This was a BOQ. And there were 12 of us that lived there. We had a full-time houseboy, of course, that worked for us, make the beds and clean up. We also had a full-time barmaid, which I thought was a little excessive. You'd think 12 guys could mix their own drinks. This is our guard asleep at his post. The Vietnamese police wore white uniforms, which is how they got the nickname White Mice. You can imagine how brave they are. But this is our BOQ again. Really a pretty nice layout. And we'd have a party in there every now and then, have a few drinks, bend an elbow. I think there were 3 of us in the bedroom I was in, 3 guys. That's my Navy buddy going in, commander. And he got me in a little, like a 12-foot runabout with a 10-horse motor on, went out in the middle of the Gulf of Siam to meet one of those fishing junks to pick the advisor up and bring him back in, and we must have had 15-foot ground swells. It scared me to death. It was pitch dark, no moon out. We almost got run over by the junk. But anyway, I'm glad I was a pilot. Didn't have to do that regularly. But anyway, that's what you do when you get bored. So what the heck. That's Phu Quoc Island, which is the home of the famous rotted fish sauce called Nuoc Mam. And it's very famous. It was made out in Phu Quoc. This is the airport at Phu Quoc. It was not secure, but we'd gone out there on an operation. But the Nuoc Mam is this rotted fish sauce. I never really developed a taste for it, but I guess culturally it's sort of like our ketchup. And they put it on everything. And here comes a caribou in to land at the Phu Quoc Island airport. And this is one of our planes, not the Vietnamese. There's a trusty old de Havilland otter, which I flew and got checked out in. Great bird. We had a beaver assigned to our unit, but I don't know who had that otter. This is a DC-3, a Goonie bird coming in that the Vietnamese airline owned. This is the airstrip at Antoy Naval Base at the bottom of Phu Quoc. And they had a swift boat repair facility there. And they always served, there's a strip right there on the edge of the sound. But they always seemed to have strawberry shortcake for dessert. So we'd always try to hit there around mealtime so we could catch a little strawberry shortcake, which we didn't seem to get back home at Rach Gia. And this island was about a 45-minute flight, as I remember, out over the ocean. pretty emerald green water too. I mean, it was gorgeous. I understand now there are two $50 million resorts on Phu Quoc Island. Far cry from what it was 40 years ago. And that's the repair facility. This is Jim Drury of the Virginian TV series fame and his USO troupe, and they were on their way to Rach Gia to entertain us, and I happened to be out there, and that's Jim Drury, the star of the TV series. He was a drip. He had about as much personality as a mud fence. But anyway, he brought a couple dancing girls with him and a little band, and they got up and sang and danced for us and drug us out on the dance floor and one thing and another. He was one of the guitar players. They were the musicians, the one with the funny hats. And I took off shortly here, and I was flying out, and they caught up with me. That Goonie Bird cruised about 165 or so, so they went on past me, and they were heading to Rach Gia, as I said, and I was heading on in myself. And here we are talking. That's my Navy friend. Took me out and scared me to death in the middle of one night. That's me on the left. Our white mice. Flying in a flak jacket and a t-shirt. That's about all you needed. And we had a steel plate put under the seat. Now this is the day I got my plane shot up out there, and I got bullet holes in the window there. It was pretty scary. I had a couple that came within a couple inches of my head. In fact, it cut the flap motor wiring, and there's one in the wingtip. I got a spray of them. It was a lot to talk about that night at cocktail hour, and a bullet hole in the top of the cabin. I think that's the one that cut the flap motor wire. It was when I landed. There's Norm Savara too, my good buddy I flew with out there. He was a great guy. Probably the top bird dog pilot of the entire war. Great guy.